Well, we've had a real, what I would call freedom of speech issue that's come up over here on the Hill. We do a process called a telephone town hall. It begins with a recorded message that when the people pick up the phone, they hear your voice, and it tells them who you are, what you are doing, that you're having a live telephone town hall right then, that what you're going to be talking about, and which button to hit to get them in line to listen, and if they want to talk, another button to push to talk in the telephone town hall. In preparing that script, you have to submit that to the Franking Commission, which is a group whose job is to make sure that we don't spend government franking privilege money on political issues. They're doing politics. It's supposed to be, has historically been for policy and for communication with the folks back home. The Franking Commission is created by the majority and minority. It's my understanding they have equal numbers of people, but both sides have to agree. If one side has a suggestion that be changed, then it gets changed. What we had was we had put in that speech the words, the Democratic majority is bringing out their government-run health care program. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. They told us we had to strike the term Democrat majority and put the majority party is releasing its public option health care plan. Well, public option is the talking point of Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama. This is the talking point that they've studied through I'm sure, focus groups to see, does government-run health care play good with the people? No, not for the Democrats. Does public option? Yeah, that's better. So they're telling me that I have to use their talking points on my communication back home, or the Franking Commission will not approve my communication back home. That's exactly right. And at first, I thought it was personal to me, and I took it that way, and I was offended, and I made the comment, I'm sorry, but this is a violation of my First Amendment rights. And then I started circulating my story, and I started hearing all these other stories. 24 Republican members of Congress have a similar story about different language, that the Democrats were held up their communication until they changed the language. Now, why is holding it up so important? Well, you, I think, are well aware that everything we've been doing up here has been, the 11th hour they hand us the bill, and we've got to vote on it immediately, or the sky is going to fall in. That's what I've been telling the American people. And so we have to be able to respond back home to communicate with our folks very rapidly, because the issues don't last but maybe 6 hours. And so it prevents you from communicating back home by just delaying the process. Once we're past the point and the bill has been passed by the Congress, the communication is, here's what passed, not here's what's coming. And I think the American people want to know here's what's coming. So they prevent us from communicating our message by just stalling us. Mailings have been really, really hampered by this. I have a list of 24 members. One example is Ken Calvert from California took a quote straight from President Obama's town hall meeting he held on health care, in which the lady asked a question about her mother getting a pacemaker when she was up in her 80s, I believe. And he said it made this comment that, I can't speak it word for word, but what he basically said was, maybe we should have a program that explains to people, maybe this is not the best use of our money, maybe you just ought to go home and take a pain pill. And that is a very damaging thing that he said, that an awful lot of seniors were very offended by that. Mr. Calvert quoted it word for word, it's acknowledged by everyone that he quoted it word for word. They refused to let him put it in his mailer. It was not. And I've asked that question. I was here for 2 terms while the Republicans in power, but I asked all the way back till the changeover in the 90s. And in fact, the big issue of Kevin Brady's chart is a perfect example. Kevin Brady's chart is colorful and beautiful and truthful. And they have told him he can't mail it. and they're trying to stop everybody from using it, although they're failing miserably. But they certainly can stop you from using your funds that are allowed to you under the franking privilege to do it. And that's what they've done to multiple members. They've tried to send that chart off. Now, almost the identical chart, just different names, was prepared by Dick Armey back during the last Hillary Care debate. Both the Democrats and the Republicans approved that chart. Historically, when you're talking about policy, you have the right to call it what you want to call it. It's when you're talking about re-elect John Carter or be sure and vote Republican that you get off into politics. I'm one of those folks who believes that sunshine brings light available to everybody. And so I'm trying to get the message out. I think the American people need to remember that just because they're taking away my freedom to speak to my constituents doesn't mean the next step won't be their freedom to speak on issues that they want to speak out on. Once the government is permitted to curtail free speech at any level, then the door is open, and we should be worried a lot about where that could go. I think there's no doubt that they can call Speaker Pelosi's office, because there's at least some indication that this is, although she denies it, there's some indication that this is coming from higher up than the committee. It's above their head, is what we're told, and it's above the Franking Committee's head, is what we're told. And so above them is kind of the leadership of the House, of the Democrats in the House. I don't know, but I think everybody, if we want to protect our freedoms, whether it be the freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, if we want to protect our freedoms, when we see our freedoms being infringed on, if we don't speak up, the time may pass to where we have the right to speak up. And at that point in time, we're all in a lot of trouble in this country, because it's changed what makes America the lamp of liberty. And if we take away that liberty and that freedom, we're not America. Finally, I have here a copy of the Constitution of the United States. And at the end of the passage of our Constitution, people thought that we should at least set out what rights the American citizen had. And these rights were, as explained by the Constitution, given by God, not by government. The First Amendment addresses the first rights that our founding fathers felt were most important. And it starts off, the Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. So the freedom of speech was second only to your right of religion, as set forth by our founding fathers. It is a right that we have to preserve. If we give it away by letting them take advantage of anybody in this country on their right to speak out, we all lose it.